The 24-25 NBA season is officially over, and we're hopping right into the offseason, the draft, just a few days away. We've talked a lot about that, but following that is free agency. What did the Sixers do? Well, not expected to be a hefty one league-wide. However, two major decisions for the Sixers that will change the entire landscape. So we'll talk about all of those details and more. And lastly, we'll predict which Sixers free agents will stay versus leave in a couple weeks. We'll break it all down, but welcome in to Philly Take with RB. And we started off with our boy Isaiah Joe, who is now officially an NBA champion. The OGs know, man. Isaiah Joe was my guy. Never wanted him to leave. They cut him for nothing. Congrats to him. And congrats to the Thunder, who have now changed the NBA landscape after winning their first title. And also shout out to all the new followers, subscribers, members. We shattered records on this show last night. We've been live streaming the whole playoffs, the finals, and we broke insane records. We had almost 600,000 people tap in for Game 7 with us. So if you are new to the family, welcome. And for my Sixers fans out there, you might be wondering, why are we talking about free agency with the draft in a couple days? Obviously, we've talked a lot about the draft already, but my birthday is on Friday, and I'll be gone for a couple days. So we will get into all of it when we come back. We'll live stream react to free agency and all that. But we need to talk about the couple main dominoes, which we'll get into in a second. But how about the dominoes in the Eastern Conference? Tyrese Haliburton has a torn right Achilles. You got to feel for the guy, man. Got to feel for the Pacers. They were so close. Great run. Shout out to TJ McConnell, who played his butt off. But now, with this injury, the entire Eastern Conference is changed. It's insane how quick these things are. Dramatic fashion. Tatum's hurt, Achilles tear. Haliburton's hurt, Achilles tear. Lillard's hurt, Achilles tear. The East is wide open for the taking, and I don't think it is crazy to say that the Sixers might be able to win the East next year if they are healthy. The entire landscape is changed, and maybe the Sixers are right now for wanting to go all in and capitalize right now. But they have to figure out what they will do in free agency. And it comes down to a couple main dominoes in Quentin Grimes and Guerschon Yabusele. So we're going to talk about all of this, but I want to know from you, Sixer Nation, down below, what do you think about Quentin Grimes? How valuable is he, right? Made a huge jump when he got traded at the deadline to the Sixers, averaged 22 points per game, went nuclear. But a lot of people say it's because they were playing G Leaguers. You know, PG, Embiid, Maxey were all out, and Grimes was really the only guy. He emerged. He became that dude, but in more of a minimized role around the other stars, he might not be that valuable. So what's your take on that? Give me your honest assessment on Quentin Grimes down below. Should they re-sign him? Should they keep him here? I'm going to give you my thoughts on the other side, but real quick, a shout out to our sponsor of today's video. Shout out to the sponsor of today's video, Fume. Fume is a flavored air device designed to help people replace bad habits with a better alternative. Flavored air is quickly becoming the leading alternative to vaping and smoking. And Fume offers a simple and enjoyable way to break away from your bad habits while still having something satisfying to reach for. Their award-winning flavored air device delivers great taste without any nicotine or harmful chemicals. Instead of inhaling vapor, you simply breathe in natural, non-toxic flavors that satisfy the craving without the downside. Their premium wooden device has a magnetic fidgeting feature that adds an extra layer of satisfaction, making it perfect for relieving stress or staying focused. Imagine watching the Sixers getting blown away, and you have this to keep your attention. Fume is easy to take anywhere, whether you're at work, traveling, or just relaxing at home. They have continuously invested in third-party studies to ensure the safety of their products. Over 500,000 people have already made the switch to Fume as part of their habit change journey. So if you're ready to try for yourself, now is the time. For a limited time, if you order the Journey Pack using my code Philly, you'll get a free Fume topper, an awesome accessory to level up your experience. So click the link down below, tryfume.com/Philly, or scan the QR code on the screen and get yours today. All right, so let's talk about Quentin Grimes. Jake Fisher put this out in his article a few days ago. Depending on how the Sixers roster looks after the Oubre, Gordon, and Drummond player options, the Sixers will be hovering around the second apron at $207.8 million. but we are told that they will have the capacity to far exceeds the $7 to $9 million range in average salary for Quentin Grimes, who obviously kind of had a blow up with the Sixers and became that dude. Multiple numbers crunchers anticipate that he is heading for a payday that starts north of the $14.1 million mid-level exception. That is the non-taxpayer mid-level exception. Then you have Guerschon Yabusele, who, according to Mike Scotto, says is gaining interest from the San Antonio Spurs. Probably would be a good acquisition for them in free agency. Makes a lot of sense. And the Spurs are interested. So when it comes to Yabu, he says if he has to go back to Philly, he'd be more than happy. But the question is, can they afford him? Can they do it? Well, let's talk about it. Let's break it all down. We're going to try to make this as simple as possible to understand. It's very hard sometimes. But for the next year coming up, the Sixers right now are $10.5 million under the luxury tax. They are $18.6 million under the first apron, and they are $30.4 million below the second apron. However, like Jake Fisher said, they will be hovering around the second apron, and that's because he has already started to take into account some of the free agent decisions. Here are the Sixers free agents, 11 players. At the end, we'll talk about which will stay and which will go. But the problem is with Grimes and Yabu, it is almost impossible to re-sign both of them. Why is that? Well, let's start with Grimes. Grimes, as you can see here, is an RFA, restricted free agent rights. Why does he have that? Number one, he is at the end of his rookie contract. So the league tries to protect these players, and that means that anywhere Grimes signs in free agency, the Sixers will be able to match the offer sheet and bring him back. Essentially, if the Sixers want Grimes back, he will be back. Now, when we look at free agency, there's only one team this summer that is expected to have cap space. They're going to have 50, 60, 70 million. It's the Brooklyn Nets. Why? Why is that happening? Well, this is a different day and age, ladies and gentlemen. Look at how the Thunder built their team. The Pacers. Teams are no longer trying to gather cap space to try to sign the big free agent, right? The teams that are, putting together three big star models, it's not really working anymore. The other reason is the first and second apron, which now has very harsh penalties. The 76ers can sign Grimes at any amount, doesn't matter. Let's say the Nets go pay Grimes $20 million a year. The Sixers can match that and bring him back to Philly. So what is our prediction for Quentin Grimes? Well, they said he's going to head north of the $14.1 million non-tax mid-level. I'd say he'll probably be around $18 million per year. Now, Quentin Grimes also has what is called bird rights, which means he's been with the same team for 3 years. Those also transfer in the trade to Philly. So that means they can go above the salary cap to re-sign him. However, when it comes to Yabusele, he is an unrestricted free agent. He's 30 years old, and he only was on a minimum contract last year for Philly. So because they have his non-bird rights, Guerschon Yabusele can only be paid, I think it's like 120% of his current value this year on his contract. So the problem is that Yabusele cannot be signed for more than 120% unless they do it another way. That's where the non-tax mid-level comes in, right? We said $14.1 million on the non-taxpayer mid-level exception. But the NBA makes it difficult again, because if you use a certain percentage of it, I think it more than $5.7 million, then you get hard capped at the first apron. Then there is a problem there, right? Because then you can't sign both Yabusele and Quentin Grimes, right? So that's where they're struggling here. If they sign Yabu for more than 5.7 of the non-tax mid-level, then they'll get hard capped and they can't sign Grimes. So it's very difficult to bring both of them back. So unfortunately, I do not think that Yabu is going to be able to be retained by Philly unless he wants to take a massive discount and appreciate where he's played. But at the same time, he's earned it, right? A really long journey to get back here, and he played his butt off this year. So where do I anticipate the value of Yabu? Probably like $9-10 million a year in free agency. And unless the Sixers don't want to re-sign Grimes, it's just very hard for them to get there. So that is really the short, simple way of saying that they're probably going to only keep one of the two. Now, my problem personally is that when you look at free agency this year, Like, there's just not a lot of free agents available. And the Sixers, I mean, they need forwards, right? Everybody wants to draft a guard now, and they have all these guards on the team, but Paul George is your small forward. Yabu was playing a lot of the 4, and power forward has been one of their biggest problems. Rebounding is constantly one of their biggest issues. And Joel Embiid, if he's playing this year, can barely even jump. So you need a 4 that can help complement the rebounding game. And when we look at the guys out there, a lot of them are on player options, John Collins or Dorian Finney-Smith, Bobby Portis. So there's not really a guarantee that those guys will be available. So that's why it gets a little tricky too. Like, do you maybe favor Yabu because of his positional fit and versatility, things like that? So all the things that we will get into, but where do the Sixers stand? Here are their 11 free agents this year. So we'll start it off here with the club options, the guys that the Sixers have the decision to make on whether they want to bring back or not. Justin Edwards, one of the most young, exciting players from last year. He is definitely staying with this team. Jared Butler was acquired at the deadline, had a couple good moments, but I don't think he will be here going into next year because of the excess at guard depth. So Jared Butler, I'm going to say, is a go. Lonnie Walker, the 4th, is a very tough one. Played really well, had some exciting moments. A veteran in the league, still only 26 years old. Don't know if there will be enough room on the roster, but I'm going to say he sneaks in as one of the final guards on the team. So Lonnie Walker is a stay. Now we talk about the player options, the guys who have the decision to make themselves. They can opt in and be here. The Sixers might try to maneuver some of the cap space around, maybe get them to opt out and then re-sign at a lower amount. A lot of things can happen. Maybe some of them will get traded, but I think that Oubre, Drummond, and Gordon, knowing where they're at in their careers, will all opt in. So for the time being, I will say that all of those 3 will stay. Then we get to the restricted free agents. Like I said, Quentin Grimes, one of the most valued players. Daryl Morey got a gem at the deadline, and he is probably going to be the starting 2 guard or the first guard off the bench. So Quentin Grimes is going to stay. I'll predict his value around $18 million per year, and I think his contract will be 4 years, $72 million. Jeff Doughton Jr., restricted free agent. Nick Nurse loves him, had him in Toronto as well, but just hasn't showed enough. And with all of the guards here, don't think he'll be able to make it. So Jeff Doughton Jr. for me is a go. Kyle Lowry, unrestricted free agent. I hope he's back as an assistant coach, but please, not getting minutes off the bench. 19 years has been enough, and I don't think there's any room for him on the team. So Kyle Lowry is a go. Guerschon Yabusele, although I love the guy, love his work ethic, love the way that he played this past year and could really give the Sixers some valuable forward depth. I just don't think it'll happen with Yabu. I think he'll get more interest elsewhere and sign a pretty good payday. I'll predict it at 2 years, $18 million. Guerschon Yabusele will be a go. And last but not least, Jalen Hood-Schifino, who had a really exciting game, but is still struggling to find his spot in the NBA. He's not going to be here next year. That'll be a go. So just to recap, the guys that will stay on the team: Grimes, Oubre, Drummond, Gordon, Edwards, and Walker. And the guys that will be departing: Yabu, Lowry, Butler, Doughton, and Jalen Hood-Schifino. When you have 3 players on your roster that'll be taking up approximately 90% of the cap, it's very hard to build around them, especially with the new CBA. And we are seeing exactly why. This is why teams are trying to shy away from having 3 players on max contracts. It just gets really thin in the margins. But those are my official predictions. Give me all your thoughts down below. Who do you think should stay? Who should go? Shout out to Fume for sponsoring this video. And as always, appreciate everybody for tapping in. Be sure to like, comment, and subscribe. And I'll catch you all on the next one. Peace.